Alright, here I am making the dock, looking through the scrap bin, found some chestnut, some live fed chestnut. Get all the tools I need, some simple tools for this, calipers, straight edge. Marking a line. It was on an angle, so I wanted to make it kind of straight. It didn't need to be perfect. I'm going for the sort of rustic-y look. So I just drew a straight edge, and then I'm going to take it to the bandsaw. I'm moving the bandsaw. I store it off to the side. Don't use it all the time, but getting it ready. Have to plug it in and set up the dust collection. I'm in the midst of reorganizing the shop, making sure it's at the right height so I don't run into any of the blade guides or anything. Here I am running it through. It's about 50 mils thick. Cuts through it very nice on that rip. And you can see the cool little wedge that it left there. Put back the dust collector in the bandsaw. Won't be using it for a bit. There I am getting the thickness of the case that I need. This was probably the longest part, finding the right router bit. I should have just gone with the smallest one and done more passes, which is what I ended up doing there. You can see me fumbling around, measuring different ones. Of course it's not going to line up. I need something like 10.5 mils. I'm going to fumble around, look for some more router bits, and I'm like, oh, I'll just use a good 1/4 inch bit. Use that one for template routing, usually. Switch out the old bit. Obviously, it's never the right bit in the machine before from the previous job. Tighten it up, throw it back in. You can see my dust collector wasn't hooked up there from the last stuff. I usually have 2 going. You'll see I only have 1 going right now. Here I am just getting the depth. I went shallow to start with and did a couple of passes. You'll see. I really like that Paolini's ruler. You can get the height and really easy. I like how it sets up. I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I'm looking for something. There I am messing around with the height. It's really hard to frame shots. This is my first YouTube video that I'm making for any of these projects. I'm going to try to do it for the projects that I'm building so people can see the build. I think it's kind of neat. Maybe someone will like it anyways. It's hard to frame shots and the lighting. A lot of respect for those guys who and girls who do those videos online. They're fun to watch. Okay, here I am marking the spot where I want the slot to go. Oh, tidying up, putting that other bit away. Got to transfer it to the side so I can see where I want it to be when I'm running it through the table. I like using the table more than the handheld. I know some people would probably do this handheld, but this is just so easy to set up. I really like the Jessom router lift. Okay, so I've got some wood. I need to get a scrap piece to make sure I don't mess it up. There's a 2x4, but I didn't want to do a cross cut. I don't have a sled. So found a 2x6, and I'll just do my first pass. See where it is. I gotta move those flip stops, those quick homemade flip stops. I use those more for the miter saw instead of the router, but sometimes I use them for the router. All right, do my first through pass. It was nice. There's no tear out on either side. Did a second one just to clean up all the residual sawdust in there. Okay, now the hardest part of this job was coming up with the thickness. You can see me go through the process here, aligning the fence a little bit. Then I'll do a test pass on that 2x6, that's why I have that. It's also my 2x6 I use for my drill press as a sacrificial piece. See how it fits. I can't remember, that was a little tight I think. Yeah, so I'm giving it another mill. Just nudging it. It's hard to do this holding the camera. People who do this have multiple cameras, I've learned. There, that feels nice. But I didn't like the depth. Felt like it was going to fall out, so I wanted to make it a little deeper. I don't want to make it too deep because then you can't see the full screen. This person's going to use this as a horizontal dock beside their bed. They plug it in and it's like their alarm clock. We call it the dock clock. There's the second pass, going back to that first distance from the fence. So now it's in there real nice. This scrap piece is perfect for 2 of them. So basically I've made 2 here at once. Because we don't need a nice crisp edge on this. They want the rustic look, or we're going for the rustic look here. I'm going to just use the bandsaw. I'm going to sand the edges and give them contour anyway, so these bandsaw marks will be gone. So you can't see, but there are 2 there. Lining up the edge, yep, looks nice. Shut off the dust collection. Ooh, that's fast moving. Try to tidy up a little bit while I'm working. As you can see, it's not always what I do. So I just got this. I probably shouldn't have used this when I think about it. I've had better success without the soft pad on. But what I was thinking was, I'll just try it. I've got excited to use it. But I should have done it without the soft pad and just use the soft pad for the finish sanding. So I'm going to use the small Rotex sander, put it in the aggressive mode, and then just sort of carve some character into it. Oh, some more tidying up. There's my notebook where I write down what I do. I didn't write down the depth. I should have. Oh. I can go back and add that to my notebook. So yeah, the sanding pad is great, I think, to get into the grooves, but I should have kept the interface, the soft pad, off initially. Sorry for the dowels in your way there. But anyways, if I had kept it off, I would have been able to dig in there a little bit more. And then I could have put the interface pad on for the softer, the finish sanding. Not that this is really getting a high finish sand. I'm only going to go to 120 grit, 1 twit. This is 40 grit right now that I'm using. You can see some characters coming along. And I'll just go in different spots. Change my angle a little bit. Again, with that interface pad, it sort of dampened the effect that I could have created. I've been happier without using the interface pad, but I think the interface pad would have been better for the higher grits, the next steps up. Sorry it's out of screen there, but I'm putting the contour on the top. In real time, that process took about 5 minutes. There's a small spot from my original bandsaw ripping off the back to kind of straighten the edge. I didn't do a good job, and when I ran it through the fence on the router table, it moved a little bit, so I had to chisel out that little spot. We're talking less than a mil. Here I am looking through my scrap pieces for some 80 grit, the next step up, basically. I know I skipped 60, but it'll be fine. Especially when the look we're going for doesn't have to be perfect. And I kept this on the aggressive mode just to give it some more character and texture or contours, whatever you want to call it. Then I went into 120, wiped some dust off in my hand. Not that there was much on there. This part, the second 2 grits, probably another 3 or 4 minutes of sanding there. I did a better job framing this. After I put it down, I found some spots that needed a little bit more. I wanted them to be kind of similar. I didn't want the lower grit stuff to be too visible. Although it kind of looks cool in the end when you see the color. I basically left the bandsaw marks on the back too. I'm going to use Provincial. They wanted a darker color one. I had some zebra wood lying around, but they said they wanted some darker. And I'm putting this on in a sloppy manner because if it's a little blotchy, it's going to be okay. So here I'm just dabbing it on. and just rubbing it in and rubbing it in. Should get a branding iron for the bottom there, or a CNC machine. So you can see some of the spots in there that looked a little darker, so I didn't get in there with the higher grits quite as well. There we go, done. A clock dock.